Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is the Piracy Show. Now, on today's episode, this is going to be one of those things where it's just like, I'm really glad for things like Shadowplay and the ability to just, record so much footage when I'm playing Star Citizen, because you have adventures and you want to share them. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but you want to share them. And this is one of those ideal situations rather, where something really funny happened and it was just like, I'm so glad I recorded it. It's just one of those moments. So anyways, to give you a little bit of a setup to what's going on is I had been experimenting around ArcCorp, and I had earned one crime stat doing this. What I had done is I had gone and I had hacked the array around ArcCorp, and I was testing a few things out because there's an episode that I've been wanting to do for a long time involving the Herald and involving hacking. It's something that I really kind of wanted to do a deep dive into, but the game wasn't exactly in the best state for a long time, and there's a lot of humps that you have to kind of get over to get everything together. And so finally I had the time, and I was like, all right, this is it. This is what I'm doing. I am going to experiment with different ways to use the Herald to try to make it a not dead ship. That was my intention with this video, is different techniques, different things that you can use with the Herald. I was going to experiment with equipping the Herald with as many stealth modules as possible, or the stealthiest of modules that you could possibly put on it, and then use it to kind of fly up to an array and say, hey, you know what, it would be great if we could, range hack this, but at the same time, maybe we can use it as a stealthy ship to sneak up on a satellite and, plug in the chip, do the hacking, and then get away. And just testing out different things like that. Ultimately, a stealth ship would obviously be better, but just trying things out, just experimenting and talking about how if we just implemented range hacking, which really doesn't seem like it would be all that much of a chore to implement in the game, we might end up in a much better spot. Now, it was in going around and purchasing the items to kind of start off this video that I noticed a strange bug. In here, I'm going to purchase a Walesko. This is one of the cheapest hacking chips, which have become a lot cheaper since 3.10. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to put this on my character, and this is what I'm going to use. I'm just going to, I'm going to talk about how we can just implement this UI in the Herald. Why are we not doing this? And that's when I realized that I already had a reauthorizer equipped. So it left the reauthorizer that I had in the previous gameplay session on my person. I thought, oh my God, wait a minute, is this a bug or is this intended? I mean, do these things have a certain amount of uses now? This could be interesting. And all of a sudden, the idea of the Herald, that just got kind of pushed aside. And all of a sudden I was thinking, like, wait a minute, does this mean I could go and buy the most expensive chip? And well, you know what? No. First, let's go test this out and let's see if this actually works. Now, I'm sure that most of you are somewhat familiar with what I'm doing right now, which is I'm getting close, about 10K from the satellite, and then I'm powering off my ship, which makes my ship harder to detect, and we'll see that again later in the video. And this also prevents, once you get dinged for trespassing, this prevents the satellite from basically blowing up your ship. There are places very close to the satellite where you can hide your ship, but that also exposes you to the possibility that if a player comes to investigate why the satellite is down, they see your ship right there, they may just blow it up on site. So putting your ship further away from the satellite, that allows you for your ship to potentially remain undetected, for you to get into the satellite, shut it off, guard it for the 5 minutes, and then basically sail back to your ship, and your ship is still there. Though, obviously, this is somewhat time consuming. Now, thanks to the magic of editing, we can speed this up. So yes, I am fast forwarding this at this moment, just simply because having to sit through an entire flight of 10 kilometers, give or take a meter or two, is not going to be fun. However, it does open up interesting doors. When you're kind of floating through here and you've got nothing to think about, all of a sudden you're going, well, the Herald isn't such a great ship to use for this. Interestingly enough, perhaps the Cutlass or perhaps a Freelancer, if you were to go load up a space bike on that ship, do a little bit of a pre-setup, what you could do is you could fly maybe 15, 20 kilometers away, hide your ship there, and then jet in with the space bike real quick, hide it within, the framework of the station so that it doesn't get blown away. And then once you're done, get on your space bike and fly back to your ship. That could be an interesting technique to look at in the future. Since this is nearly 20,000 per mission when you do this on the crime side, so could potentially be lucrative and fun. But there is a downside to this. Crime stat. You're still going to get a little bit of crime stat. You don't go all the way to 5 right away, but it does happen. Now, once I had gotten to the station and I had tried to basically pull the reauthorizer chip out and use it, that's when it wasn't working. So it's some kind of a bug in the UI. I tested it again later in the video, and yeah, it's a bug. You can't do it. You have to go and re-equip a new one. Now, with the satellite disabled, I was basically in the clear. No one was going to show up to shut this thing. Well, I'm not going to say no one was going to show up. No one did show up. So in the end, easy peasy, 20 grand, no big deal. Just, the time consuming part of flying over to the satellite. But we've already got some ideas on how to cut down or largely eliminate that. So an interesting possibility. But now I had to kind of go and contend with the fact that, okay, I do have multiple chips, in my magical bag, the Moby Glass. I've got multiple chips that I can now use to run down my crime stat. And with chips being cheaper, that's still a pretty amazing thing. The rewards for the mission haven't gone down, but the tools to do the mission have gotten a lot cheaper, which means you don't have to go to Brio's Breaker Yard. You don't have to go to Samson & Sons. You can just get a cheap chip and get it done. Now, you might think that the idea of flying to a place like SPK or one of these arrays and going 10 kilometers away from it, powering down, and then moving in slowly is kind of a waste of time. But you quickly learn that through practical experience, when you do this carefully, it allows you to reconnoiter the site before you go in. It allows you to know what you're walking into. And, far too often, far too frequently, you see a lot of players and they just go boom, and they go right in and they land, and they don't factor that another player may already be there or another player may arrive while they're inside. And so it's, this is why I kind of advocate for, ground vehicles and more complex missions to kind of train players out of this mentality. It's like, oh, I have to go to this site, so why don't I land right at the front door? I do it as well, and I'm trying to kind of teach myself out of that. But, by implementing certain things or implementing the ability to spawn space bikes on our ships and stuff like that, we can kind of make it a little bit easier to do things a little bit better. And in this situation, it was very advantageous to kind of take the time and float into Korea rather than fly right up to the front door, because there were a couple of people there. Now, from a distance, I was able to spot some fairly substantial engine trails. And so I was able to quickly look and zoom in and then realize that, okay, yeah, is this an NPC? Is this a player? I don't know, but it's definitely a presence. And it wasn't until the ship came out the other side that I realized, oh, it's a pirate caterpillar. This, at first I was looking at the way they were flying. I was going like, is that an NPC pirate caterpillar? Is that what that is? Is it like, have they added something to this mission? Like the pirates that are inside the base? Is this their ship? But then as I realized as the ship was moving into land, I went, oh, no. This is legitimately a player. So now I know that if I go in there, I've got at least one target that I have to worry about. So I was, watching the caterpillar very carefully, looking at the bottom hatch and trying to see if I could see somebody go back in, somebody come out. I don't know. I was just basically trying to, get a bead on this player and where they were. If I know where they are and they don't know where I am, then that's a good thing. When I noticed this Super Hornet coming into land at Korea as well, once again, just driving right up to the front door as if there's the potential for nobody there. Now, keep in mind what I was talking about, parking the Herald far away and then powering it off. It's a fair bet to say that neither of these guys detected my ship. So they don't know that I'm here, but I know that they're here. So I immediately took up an ambush position outside of the station and got rid of the Super Hornet pilot. Now, some people might say, oh my God, why are you shooting that guy? Blah, 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 blah. You don't know. That person could have been friendly. They could have let you do the mission. And they could not have let me do the mission, right? And that's where you got to kind of make the judgment call. Now, I could go and I could say, hey, friendly. And then all I'm doing is alerting them to the fact that I'm there and giving them a better opportunity to shoot me versus, not giving them the opportunity. Ultimately, in a world where characters can die, where players can be killed and assets can be lost, do you want to run that risk that player is not as nice as you? I mean, you hate to say it, but in a world like Star Citizen, it's kill or be killed. Now, I have to say that, the hacking was a bust. It really was. I was kind of hoping for more, especially like reusable hacking chips would have been amazing. Would have been absolutely amazing. But I did discover that this C54 machine pistol can be quite amazing. It fires very tight groups at reasonable range, and it doesn't have a lot of recoil. So I was very pleased with that. And also the addition of a suppressor makes it a little bit more difficult for NPCs to kind of dial in where you are. Though I do have to say that ultimately the idea of NPCs spawning out of nowhere is still kind of dopey. I would like to say that the mission ended successfully, but
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels.